For 5 years, the galaxy knew only one truth. The Jathari Empire did not negotiate. When their fleets arrived, stars went dark. When their soldiers landed, civilizations ended. And when resistance rose, it was crushed so completely that history itself was rewritten to forget it ever existed. At the center of that unstoppable machine sat Empress Velith, ruler of the Jathari, an empire older than human civilization itself. She was not known for rage or cruelty in the way humans understood it. She ruled with precision. Mercy, to her, was inefficiency. Compassion was a flaw that led to extinction. And I was her greatest problem. Before the war, I had been nothing special: Lieutenant Elias Ward, Engineering Division, Earth Defense Coalition. My life revolved around reactor diagnostics and orbital maintenance schedules. I never imagined commanding fleets, let alone becoming a symbol of resistance whispered across alien star systems. The war began without warning. Jathari warships tore through human space like living weapons, their hulls shimmering with energy fields our scanners couldn't penetrate. Earth held for 12 hours. Mars fell in 6. Luna was erased entirely, cracked open as a demonstration. Billions died in the first year. Human governments collapsed one after another. Alliances fractured. Fleets burned. The galaxy learned that humanity was not prepared to face an empire that had already conquered hundreds of species before us. I survived the fall of Earth because I wasn't there. My ship had been rerouted to a relay station on the edge of the system. From orbit, I watched my homeworld vanish behind firestorms and orbital debris. That image burned itself into my memory, and it changed me. The remnants of humanity scattered. Some fled beyond charted space. Others surrendered. A few of us chose a third option. We fought. At first, resistance was disorganized, small cells acting independently, striking in desperation rather than strategy. Most were wiped out within weeks. The Jathari adapted quickly, learning human tactics, exploiting our emotional decision-making. So we changed. We stopped defending worlds and started attacking infrastructure. We hit supply convoys, communication relays, fuel depots. We learned Jathari psychology, how they prioritized efficiency above all else, and we exploited it. That was where I came in. My engineering background made me useful. I understood their technology faster than most. I could see weaknesses others missed. Soon, I was planning operations. Then leading them. By the end of the second year, I was commanding a fleet made of scavenged human hulls and stolen alien components. We were always outnumbered. Always outgunned. But we were unpredictable. The Empire began to bleed. Nothing catastrophic, Velith would never allow that, but enough to slow their expansion. Enough to make governors nervous. Enough that rebellion started flaring on worlds already under Jathari rule. That was when the name started spreading. The human warlord. A myth, at first. Then a bounty. Then an obsession. Empress Velith issued a decree across the Empire. Capture the human warlord alive. Alive? No other enemy had ever been given that distinction. By the 4th year, the war had grown darker. The Jathari response to resistance was absolute. Entire species were erased not for fighting, but for thinking about it. Even neutral systems were annexed preemptively. Mercy vanished from imperial doctrine entirely. Velith was afraid. Not of defeat, but of hesitation. Her empire had once nearly fallen centuries earlier because a previous empress chose diplomacy over annihilation. Velith had learned from that failure. She ruled with iron logic, convinced that any softness would doom her people. And yet, she watched me closely. Every ambush I planned was countered faster than the last. Every escape grew more difficult. My people were dying. Not in glorious battles, but in calculated exterminations designed to punish me. I realized the truth too late. The war was no longer about humanity. It was about the Empress proving that mercy had no place in the galaxy. The trap came disguised as hope. Intelligence reports spoke of a Jathari command nexus, an irreplaceable hub coordinating half the Imperial fleet. Destroying it could have bought humanity years. Maybe decades. I ignored the warning in my gut. When we jumped into the system, space itself betrayed us. Gravity wells snapped shut like jaws. Cloaked warships emerged in flawless formation. Our engines died mid-burn. Communications went silent. We were surrounded. I ordered evacuation. I ordered scuttling. I ordered retreat. Nothing worked. Boarding parties tore through my flagship with terrifying efficiency. I fought until my rifle melted in my hands. Until alien shock blades pierced my armor and drove me to my knees. As a stasis collar locked around my neck, one thought echoed in my mind. I failed them. I awoke kneeling in a chamber carved from obsidian stone, veins of bioluminescent light pulsing through the walls like a living heart. Before me stood Empress Velith. She was more imposing than any hologram had suggested, tall, regal, her four luminous eyes filled with cold intelligence. Her crown was not worn but grown, a natural extension of her skull. She dismissed the guards with a single motion. For 5 years, she said, her voice calm and layered, you have delayed my empire. You have inspired chaos. You have forced me to rule harder than I ever wished. I met her gaze despite the collar burning against my skin. Then kill me. No, she replied. You will surrender. She explained her terms with chilling clarity. Human resistance was fractured. My capture had broken their morale. If I surrendered publicly, willingly, the remaining fleets would stand down. The war would end. Humanity would survive, under imperial protection. If I refused, my species would be erased within a standard year. She didn't threaten. She stated fact. Days turned into weeks as I remained in her palace, not imprisoned, but observed. She allowed me to walk the halls, to witness the empire I had fought. I saw cities that functioned with perfect efficiency. Worlds without hunger, without crime, without freedom. Species preserved not for who they were, but for what they could contribute. And I saw Velith herself. She ruled endlessly. Rarely slept. Rarely rested. Burdened by centuries of responsibility and the fear that one mistake would doom her people. When I spoke of humanity, our art, our irrational compassion, our tendency to sacrifice ourselves for strangers, she listened. When I accused her of cruelty, she did not deny it. I rule so my people never face extinction again, she said once. If mercy is the price of survival, I will pay it. On the final day, she summoned me to the Grand Spire. Nobles, admirals, and conquered species watched in silence as I stood before her. Have you decided? She asked. I thought of Earth. Of Luna. Of the children who would never know war if I chose correctly. I knelt. I surrender, I said. Not because you defeated me, but because my people deserve to live. The chamber fell utterly silent. Velith stared at me. Then, impossibly, her composure shattered. A single luminous tear traced its way down her face. I have ruled for centuries, she whispered, and no one has ever surrendered not in fear, but in hope. She raised me to my feet. The war ends today. True to her word, the Jathari fleet stood down. Human worlds were spared. Reconstruction began, not as conquered territory, but as protected systems bound by treaty. I became an envoy between species. And Velith, slowly, painfully, learned something she had denied for centuries. That mercy was not weakness. It was strength. And that sometimes, the bravest victory in the galaxy, was choosing to lay down your weapon.